welcome back, everybody. It's time again for some health talks with Dr. Trinh. The one show, maybe the only show that shows you the path to a healthier life, one conversation at a time, or in this case, maybe one conference at a time, because today we're going to chat about the conference that Dr. Trinh and his partners from MDDAO attended last night here at the University of California, Irvine's Beall Applied Innovation Center. And the conference is, well, I'll let him tell it. Dr. Trinh, come on in, give us some update here.
Hey guys, we had a really fun event last night sponsored by the American College of Healthcare Executives and ENP, which stands for Entrepreneurs Next Practice, I think.
Executive Next Practice.
Executive Next Practice. So their annual conference was with us last night.
And it was really on the future of healthcare, the healthcare next generation. What does it look like in 3 years from now?
Absolutely. And Helene was our moderator, actually, for the panel. We had all the founders was there, Arabian Prince and Steve. And it was a good event with lots of, obviously, executives and futurists and CEOs to talk about the future of healthcare. That was last night.
Let me just tell you what I saw, because I was privileged to come down. It's right here where my studio is, so I only had to come downstairs to this big event center they have here at UCI's Beall Applied Innovation Center. And the whole center is about trying to take technology from campus, as they talked about again, and turn it into something, to somehow commercialize all this academic research that goes on in this university, and what all universities are trying to do. So they periodically hold these conferences with a variety of other partners and players and stuff to try and bring together what they think are the leading luminaries, the light shining the way into the future of something. Usually, in this case, UCI mostly does medical devices and drug development, medicines. That's what they're known for. So this was right up their alley. And the Chief Innovation Officer, Errol Arkalik, was there, and he gave the overview of what the university is all about and how they struggled that valley of death between great ideas and academic research, and then somewhere it falls off and doesn't get turned into anything along the way, and the difficulties of doing that, and on the mission of this building to make a better transition, to get more conversations, not just pushing stuff out to business, but pulling business in the process and getting to develop. So I give you that all as a background because this was, for them, a big deal. And they picked you guys as really, there were two speakers, another fascinating guy in regenerative medicine. We can talk about that a little bit. And then you guys with a whole panel of people that you work with or on your board or investors on this whole idea of the medical metaverse, this place, this space where we're going to gather, not just to chat, not just to watch videos, but to maybe to do telehealth or attend online conferences or on-time support groups or interact with my doctor directly, or I don't know. My head spins at the possibilities where you all seem so comfortable this is coming. And everybody there had their mouth sort of jaw on the floor like, really? What was your takeaway, Ellen, with the crowd and the audience there? It was a very somber, a very focused interest from everybody. They were very intent on what you're doing and asked some really, really in-depth questions like, really, how are you going to do this? What platform are you going to use to do this? And how are you going to handle insurance? And how are you going to handle HIPAA? Not challenging, just questioning, wondering, how are you going to handle all this stuff?
I was actually happy with the open mind of the audience yesterday, and I was expecting to have more resistance. But on the contrary, we had very attentive people, and the questions were flowing, and you could see there was hands everywhere that were raising to ask questions, and we didn't even have time to answer them all, and they were quite straight to business, and that was really, really good. I liked it. I also liked the fact that we had an honest conversation, an open conversation, and that we could say things the way they are. We're not, as we've been saying all along, we're not there to just come, flash, try to get money and run. We're here to do something. We know it's a long-term project. We know there's multiple steps to get there. And this is certainly one of them, to be exposed to the actual community, medical
researchers, medical doctors, mostly that. It wasn't really the public isn't invited to this. It was really people in the medical community, either at the university level who are in research and development or planners. There was somebody there from the Mirage School of Business that asked some questions. I forget, she had some prominent position, business models and stuff. And then there were a bunch of people there. There were some students there from the university. And I'll give you an example. I hope this doesn't put you in an awkward position, but there was one very difficult question. from a student. And I wasn't aware that there have been other attempts to build medical metaverses, and they cited some case, and apparently it failed. And so they said
1992.
1992. Okay, so they brought.
Okay, so, timing is everything, right?
Well, that's true. But here was the answer that I thought. One of your other co-founders, Stephen, said, very honest, to your point about honest and open. And the student said, all right, so we've studied this case study and that didn't work. What's your differentiator? And he thought for a second. He said, well, we're a DAO. We're listening. We're not telling you what we think and imposing it. Here it is. Take it or leave it. We're opening this up and inviting people to come in and join us, the founders, and give you votes and direction as to what this says. It is not just our thing. It's everybody's thing. And boy, that just sent a hush to the audience like, wow, okay, there's a different way to build organizations. It's not Facebook, 5 guys in a room saying, this is how we're going to do it, take it or leave it. You can object and maybe we'll react like a market force, but we are coming in with a complete package that we're going to sell you, and it's take it or leave it. And you're like, no, take it and join us. Take it and make something with us. Collaborate, cooperate. It's a co-op. And everybody was like, I'm still not sure they wrapped their head around that one because I don't know that many are doing that.
Well, it's because it's the first time. The reality is when you do something for the first time, it's always hard for people to get their head around it and also to understand that using a democratic way of doing things and a crowdsourcing way of doing things could actually lead to something. And quite frankly, in my opinion, even if when you have long-term projects, someone might catch up on you and invent or create a technology that's going to, but I believe that the entire DAO process that we're doing is one of the most valuable things that we could put to market, because it's going to be one of the first time that we hear from all of the patients and medical professionals and wellness professionals, their solution, their ideas, their decision on how medical services should be. And I think they have a lot to say, and we believe they have a lot to say. Yesterday, we just saw a few glimpses of that with Dr. Trinh and Dr. Tang and some of the excitement in the audience, but they have a lot to say, but they have no channel to be able to say it. And I believe that the DAO will be the channel for them to say.
So Dr. Trinh, isn't that kind of heresy in the medical profession? You are enshrined with the doctorate before your name. You are the doctor, almost a god. Like, I will tell you what you have. I will tell you what you do. Stick your tongue out and I will tell you. And the more I try and say, but, what about this? And what about this? You're like, please quit asking questions. I'm the professional here. Did you go to medical school? No, I did. Thank you. I will tell you what to do and follow my prescription. Take 3 of these and come see me in 3 weeks. Isn't that a challenge to that entire notion of authority?
Oh, so as I mentioned last night, healthcare is a collaborative effort between a patient and a provider.
It's supposed to be, but I don't know that it always is.
And unless there's buy-in on both sides of the treatment plan, both sides need buy-in of the treatment plan, that treatment ain't gonna go forward, isn't gonna go forward with that.
I'm not taking the pill you gave me and I'm not coming back to see you. Right.
Absolutely. So the old thinking that the doctor is God and just listen and obey, that doesn't work because first of all, no one's listening. Second of all, the problem is most docs don't even listen because they have 7 to 10 minutes with their patients.
Yeah, right.
And they're out the door with the next patient. And thirdly, we forget that just the art of listening in itself is therapeutic.
There's a good point. Just having I think that's true. I'm scared. I'm wondering. I'm worried. Just listen to me and I'll acknowledge everything you're saying. I'm not going to poo-poo it. I'm not going to diminish it. I'm not going to say you're wrong. Come on. It's listening. But I think that's one of the strongest things that I don't think you guys stress enough, at least from my perspective. I'm going to join your group and give my little vote here at the next roundtable voting session here or whatever. I think one of the hidden benefits of this isn't just access, which came up a lot, equity. You get access if you're in rural America. You get access if you're not in the high income districts here where there's lots of high performing doctors. So it has a chance to equal the playing field, level the playing field a little bit. But I think it's time that you get extra time to talk, extra time to do things, extra time, extra people. It's that extra time you get on this topic. because I feel like there's a lot of time to get in to see the doctor. I got to schedule it. I got to wait. I got to sit outside. Then I got to sit inside. And it's all for 5-minute rushed conversation. Exactly. And then I'm out the door. I'm rushed out the door. And I got a million other questions. And I don't know where to go or who to ask. So it isn't just the doctor. You've got a community to ask. You've got other alternatives to explore. You've got things. But it's that time that I can spend on this subject.
Well, the doctor yesterday actually said something very interesting to me. He said, technology is now, doctors should be using technology to help patients, but it's the technology that owns the doctors. Because they said, when you go see a doctor now, what do? They're sitting in front of a computer. They're not even looking at you.
Absolutely.
And when they are talking to you, all they do is they listen to with one ear because they're typing on the other end.
Yep.
Because they would push technology, and that they should be, and they need to use technology so that it's centralized. But the idea is it's not user-friendly, as obviously, because it's not like a conversation that is recorded and then it's just
transcribed or something. Yeah,
transcribed.
Right.
Asking someone to look at a screen and to type while they're listening to the needs of someone who is probably emotionally really stressed, right. And you're not even looking at that person, right? So, and which is the first thing that you're looking for is that 5 minutes with your doctor. You want to be able to at least have that face-to-face conversation.
So my late aunt used to say, it was maddening. The doctor would start dictating his notes or typing his notes before he'd even talk to her. Saw a patient, read report, and she'd be like, hello, I'm here. And he's like, yeah, I'll get to you in a minute. He's dictating all this and deciding all this. And then he kind of turns around and says, how you feeling? Okay, good. And she felt like, I'm in the room. You're talking about me like I'm not. Or many times they would come in and discuss things in front of her. And they're never talking with her. They're not even talking to her. They're talking about her as if she's just a specimen on the table here.
The patient is the pawn in this. So that's the problem that we need to solve. And we hope that everything you mentioned about just the time, the process, the hours of waiting and phone calls and driving to the office and waiting some more for that 5 to 10 minute visit, that's what we need to solve. And that can be solved through virtual care.
And all the other time, it doesn't end there. Then I got to go get the prescription. He or she's referred me to a specialist, and I got to start it all up again here and go through this. There's a lot of time wasted and very little time spent actually talking with medical professionals. And there's certainly no time to talk about alternatives. There's no time to talk about the bigger picture. Why is this happening? It's just specifically, you got a problem. Here's a pill. Here's a procedure. That's what you came for. You're getting your tires rotated. You go in, they rotate your tires, and you don't discuss why are your tires wearing out all the time here. No wonder people are frustrated. No wonder people don't trust it. And no wonder that it feels broken somehow. And having said that, we live longer than we ever have. I get it. Technology and training and everything has extended our lives. Absolutely. But I don't know anybody that's happy. So, I love my doctor. I love the way this works. I love going to the doctor. I love this whole thing. And I don't hear many doctors say I love the way it works either. Well, that was one of the questions from somebody there about burnout. Does this help alleviate on the other side? An awful lot of doctors leaving. I even hate to say it, killing themselves under COVID, literally killing themselves with work and paperwork.
Exactly. What I also liked of yesterday was that things are already happening. Some providers, and we heard from Dr. Kurt Tamaru yesterday that they're already starting to implement technology to help and that his goal is with seniors. So his clients are mostly seniors, home care that he's giving to seniors. And he's already thinking of implementing technology, helping the seniors learn technology so that they can have great care at home. So there's a will and there's no exclusion into that new process. And that's one thing that I really liked about it last night, about that conversation too.
I'll give you some other tough questions I heard last night here, and I think you had some positive answers to this. Several people brought up the point you're dealing with an older, aging population that may not feel comfortable with technology, that doesn't know how to work a computer, much less walk around a metaverse here. And is this too intimidating a space for them to gather? It's accessible theoretically anywhere. You're homebound. You just log on and you're there. You don't have to drive there anymore, which is difficult, or have somebody pick you up and take you to the provider. So instantly that seems better. But if I get there and I don't know how to walk around or navigate, am I just as lost? And Dr. Trinh said what? How do you handle that, the technology challenged?
Yeah, well, most of the technology should be in the back end that you would never see. So the front end should be simple. I want to see my doctor. Here's a button for my doctor. I want to talk to my pharmacist. Click on this button and my pharmacist shows up. So we got to make it as simple as possible. The technology, which we call the blockchain and tokens and cryptocurrency and all that stuff, that's all back end stuff. Like when you drive your car and you get in your car, there's a start engine. You don't have to learn how the engine works. You don't look under the hood and say, oh my gosh, I can't start this car until I figure out this engine here, right? You don't look under the hood. So under the hood is blockchain. Under the hood is crypto. Under the hood is everything else.
Data. There was a lot of talk about data protection and data, who owns the data and all this other stuff.
All under the hood.
Yeah.
You just need to push the start button. And so that's our final goal with that when it comes to technology and interfacing with the patient.
Somebody, I think it was Bill Gates, once said that unfortunately everybody wants technology to work like a toaster. You drop something in, you push a button, and up it pops. And that's about as much effort or thought as I wanted to put it. And unfortunately, computers, as much as they've come, and tablets and other things, smartphones are probably the easiest to use these days, navigate. They're still not quite there. They're not toasters yet. You're talking about a toaster. I push a button and something happens here. Is that foreseeable in the future, given the technology we're at? Are we getting close to that kind of thing? Seems like it, because we've got AI. We can talk to Alexa. We can talk to different things. We can just say, hey, make an appointment. We can speech-enable things. We just talk. Yeah, see, my Alexa here is already talking to me. All right, Alexa, stop. Stop already. I was just...
That's exactly it. And just to make the point what Dr. Trinh was saying, what's under the hood doesn't matter. When I lived in Singapore, there was a big study that was done in Indonesia, and they were asking people, do you have access to internet? And they had answered no. Most of them answered no. And then the next question was, do you have a Facebook account? And most people answered yes. The thing is,
little conflict there. Yeah.
To them, Facebook came with the phone, and it's a magical thing that you press and you have access to social media.
Exactly.
The fact that you need internet to be able to access that was irrelevant, and they didn't even know in it. They didn't
realize they're on the internet.
Realize that they were connected to the internet. That's exactly what it is.
We had somebody on years ago, and I'm sure this is a wild claim to catch attention, but it's probably true. They were talking about water. And they said that around the world, more people have access to a smartphone than to clean water.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so even I've never been to villages in Africa. I've never been to the villages in Vietnam where Dr. Trinh goes. I've never been to these remote, rural, what we would think of as poor villages around the world. But I'm told that in lots of them, if not most of them, because cell phones are so cheap and so easy to use, that there is access around the world in Africa and third world countries to smartphones. And that's revolutionizing stuff, because there's no bank there, so they're doing transactions over the phone. There is no library, so they're learning stuff there. There's no local doctor or whatever, so they're already doing kind of telemedicine or telehealth or other things here, because there simply are no access. There's no roads and services, and yet they're selling goods through the internet. There's no infrastructure. There's no anything, but you're creating virtual companies and virtual products and moving them around the world just through that device. Why not have another button on there say, here, come on into MDDAO?
Yeah,
absolutely. There are countries that are cashless.
Yes, right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're cashless, you need that cell phone to go buy something. It's not even an option. So you're absolutely right. That cell phone's commodity, and that cell phone is access to your health.
Yeah, and I remember the first time that we did business in Laos, for instance, when I was there. It was about 12 years ago. And someone that wanted to buy Xerox equipment, we had like a mountain of cash because there was no banking system.
No. Yeah.
The currency was so devaluated against, there was a mountain of cash. So that's why, and plus, I mean, they leapfrogged into technology. So that's why digital currency and digital technology just was adopted right away, because you didn't have all of these legacy system that said, no, it's not ready. And we have invested so much into the current technology that we're not going to upgrade for another 9 years.
Exactly.
They leapfrog into it. So they have the most modern technology and they're way more advanced than we think.
And I think in many ways, they're further along into the metaverse than we are. You've got India. I think there's a couple giant companies that were created that sell almost giveaway cell phones. Unlike here, it's not necessarily an expensive commodity because they want to have everybody on, because they want to do commerce and do all these other things and virtual exchanges and WhatsApp and all these other ways to communicate and collaborate and communicate. You've got the information of the world in your hand. What do you do with it? There are people building businesses with it, even in poor rural environments. There are people building apps and teaching themselves how to code and do things in rural, poor environments. It's taking it out. There was a lot of discussions about equity, this notion that permeates particularly academia these days. And it's a good discussion, I get it, but it seems to be the discussion of the flavor of the moment here. How do we make equity? How do we make it not just fair that everybody has access to it, but to level the playing field so there aren't any barriers? This isn't just for rich people. This isn't just for urban people. This isn't just for westernized people. How do we bridge this disconnect between the rich and the poor, the have and the have-nots? How do we come back? And I get that thing. But what I'm hearing you saying, what I kind of felt was, in this world, I think the have-nots are already further ahead than the haves in some ways, because they didn't have the technology, the investment in banks and other things that we've got to overcome. So they just jumped from a barter system to a digital system here. That may be making much ado about nothing, to quote Shakespeare here. It could be already in their hands and they're comfortable with it. And maybe we're the ones, especially as old aging baby boomers here, that have to catch up and catch on to what's out there and how it is. That seems to be the intimidating part of this. Am I going to have an avatar? Am I going to have to dress up as a duck to see my doctor here? Am I going to have little flying wings and I have to fly through the air to see him? Maybe that's what everybody wants. Maybe they want it. Because I look at these metaverses, like my grandson plays Roblox. It's one of the biggest ones out there. Dr. Trim was talking about, for older kids, World of Warcraft or other sorts of immersive situations you go into. But kind of very simple thing, go look at Roblox. It's this little kid's kind of universe. And the stock is at $80 or $100 or some crazy thing, because they're collecting these kids not to play a game. That's what's so bizarre. These kids just wander around and talk to each other and dress up as a duck and exchange goods and go to listen to a concert and then build a little world and invite their virtual friends to come in and explore this little thing with no point to it. You don't win anything. It's not a game that I'm the winner and you're the loser. It's just, look, I made this little, it's a playground and I made this, and come play inside. And he'll spend hours and hours in this. And I think, to what end? These people are all just little avatars. But to him, that's real. Then who that avatar is an extension of him. I don't know why they even sell little virtual pets. He has a little virtual dog that he pulls around because he always wanted a dog. He doesn't have a dog in the real world. So in the metaverse, he has a dog and he pulls it around with him everywhere he goes. I mean, think about that.
So Facebook used to have farmlands where you build your own crops and develop your own crops back then.
Yeah.
You guys remember that from Facebook?
That was a game. Yeah, that was a game you could play or something.
Was on it, yeah.
Yeah. So when Lizzie went to elementary school, when she left in the morning, I had to do her crops and water.
So they wouldn't die. Yeah.
She had to remind me. She had to remind me when she went to elementary school to make sure I water her Facebook crops and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how real this becomes to people. I'm always being hit up by my grandson. He's like, Grandpa, can you buy? I say, I have to take real money from the real world and invest it so you can have another pet, or you can have a sweater for your dog, or he's got a flying monkey, I think, too, that follows him around now here. And then occasionally he exchanges one pet. Somebody walks up and has a parrot. I know for a while he had a parrot, and then he traded that to somebody. And
sounds like a great opportunity for a virtual veterinarian.
Well, that's why Roblox has exploded from the stock reports, because I looked into the stock and they're like, they've got these kids hanging out there just playing in community. What else could they do? Should they have stores where you really go buy shoes and toys? Should they really have veterinarians there to take care of your pet or to teach you about something? Should schools be here taking advantage of this and finding ways to gamify or teach stuff in a different way? Should concerts be here? He'd sit there and watch some, whatever these bands are that he listens to, the Korean pop bands.
Already there. You can go to Decentraland now And there is a schedule of concerts in Decentraland with real artists going on there to play.
But does that have to carry through? Do we all have to have a virtual avatar? And maybe does everybody want? I don't want a virtual avatar, but I guess the appeal is you can be anybody you want to be. He has a dog, which his parents won't get him in real life, and he has one now. It's almost like an imaginary dog, but it's more than that because he can see him, and he can dress him up, and he can take him around and feed him. And periodically, yeah, he has to do other things like feed him and some other things and stuff here. The dog conks out, I think. It's a fascinating idea. So I don't know what your take is. The way you describe it, it's almost like a giant Zoom call. So it's telehealth. I see the doctor. I talk to the doctor. It's what we're doing right now. We're not dressed up in a costume, but maybe it is. Maybe the world wants to dress up in costumes.
One of the things that was discussed yesterday was the fact that seniors, like you said earlier, might have a challenge with technology. And then the other conversation was about how do you engage young adults to be more conscious of their health? And is the Metaverse a solution to do that? And how do we engage the 18? And someone said we should actually use the teen to be able to help their parents and their grandparents, and that would be a wonderful way to engage them because they are
I didn't catch that. Yeah,
they are natives and they are born, and like you said, yeah, they're born, they have their little dogs, they're 7 years old, 8 years old, they have their little dogs in a virtual land. So therefore for them it's going to be an easy transition. It's not even going to be considered a transition. It's just going to be a natural thing for them to do that. But how can they help their parents that they love and their grandparents will be the way that you can actually do what we call reverse mentoring, right? When it's the young that mentor the elderly. And I think that that's a good way of engaging.
I was shocked. My wife, who is very technophobic, she just freaks out using anything here. And our grandson, who just lives in that world, he does everything. The beauty of Roblox is that you're not going and just playing their games. There's a community of games that people create. And then you can create your own. It's not even a game, just a little space, a little world. It's real elementary how to build these little blocks because they all look like Legos. Every creature looks like a Lego. That's why the Roblox, they all have these little block look to it. Talk about the blockchain. These are little block figures and block worlds like a giant Legoland. And the beauty of it is he can just do this on his own. And he builds these elaborate mazes and platforms and things, and he puts traps in, and he puts slides in, and he puts all sorts of stuff in. And I'm just flabbergasted. And so my wife actually came up to him the other day and said, "Can you teach me how to do this?" And he looked shocked, and I was even more shocked. And he's like, "Sure, Grandma, here, come here." And so the 8-year-old's mentoring the senior here. Fascinating world that you're entering here. And I don't know why that intimidates the hell out of me. Is that a problem? Are we all Luddites? I still want to ride the horse and buggy, and you got that newfangled thing called a horseless carriage, and I got to figure out how to use it? Is it just an intimidation? I'm saying mostly for people my age. What do you think? How do you get over that intimidation, if that's real?
Before COVID, telemedicine was only in the world of maybe mental health.
Yeah.
Now, I would say the majority of our older senior patients can get on a video call with their doctor.
Mm-hmm.
The majority, at least 90%. So the adoption rate is pretty high, and it really just takes that first time to turn on the computer and click on the right link to get that video.
Mm-hmm.
Second and third time is a lot easier with that. So absolutely.
Well, and look at all the things we've adopted already. I never thought smartphones, and my late father's era, he was born in the 20s. He was born in 1920. In his lifetime, he saw the birth of everything: radio, television, airplanes, the internet, trip to the moon. I mean, none of this was imaginable. That the pace of change in his lifetime was faster than I think at any generation in history. And that's only accelerated. Yeah.
Do you know that November 15, we're reaching 8 billion people on the planet?
You're kidding me. Oh, I thought that we were still like at 5 or something here.
No. And in 1904, we were at 1.6 million.
Wow. Wow.
So we have accelerated over the last 100 years in an incredible way. And now we're connected on top of that, right?
Yeah.
So now, not only that we have about 6 times the amount of people that was 100 years ago, but these people are connected worldwide. That's why, back to sourcing the ideas and sourcing the voice of people becomes important, because the diversity of thinking is the rich part of having crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
And that's going to be quite impressive.
How do you guys define this Web 3.0? That's a nicer way than saying the metaverse. Sounds even crazier. Facebook renamed itself Meta because they believe in this metaverse idea so much that that's where it's coming. But how do you define this space? And I'll give you my preface to see if this is acceptable. Web 1.0, the first version of the internet, was just connecting people to information. It was a giant yellow pages. You went to a site, you saw something, and then you got information about it. Or you went to a site to learn how to do something, or look up something, or get some fact or whatever. It was a giant library. It was a giant yellow pages. I just went to go get something. Then Web 2.0 came along, and that was social media. And it now connected me. It created conversations. I'm still not necessarily connected. It wasn't really community yet. There's a bunch of us, and we chat, and we talk, and we put up pictures. We can communicate. Web 3.0 is supposed to be kind of the final fulfillment, which is community. We don't just go once in a while and get a piece of information. We don't just go once in a while to say hi, like in a phone call or chat for a minute. We go there to hang out and become part of something. And it's a place, it's a community center. We go there. It's the old pub. We go and hang out. Is that a correct way to look at it, or is there more to it that I'm missing?
Well, I think that, personally, I think that, yes, it gives that third dimension experience that you're missing from the flat internet, if I may say, the two-dimensional internet that we live with and do business with right now. It gives you that more realistic third dimension. But it goes beyond that. I would say it removes time period in someone's life. We see right now that we have Facebook page that people put up for their deceased. We just saw last week a company that created AI avatar of you, where you can feed during your lifetime the AI with all of your knowledge, everything that you are. And then you remain alive in a digital world. So you can have a conversation with your grandkids. You can continue to give advice to your daughter because they can have a real conversation with an avatar that is a deep fake of you and that has your thinking and your knowledge. And I think that removes time in the space and bridges between who you were and who you will be in the future.
Would you give us some link to that? What a fascinating idea. The idea that you can sort of virtually live on, that you can record conversations, you can record thoughts, you can record your knowledge and leave it behind rather than disappearing. All of us crazy here. You live and you learn and you die and you forget it all.
And you interact. I mean, the AI interacts with you.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the video blog that you would do and live as a legacy, like a living testament kind of thing that you would do. You actually interact with that avatar and you can continue to have a conversation with your father.
Wow.
I'm passing on my jokes to my avatar.
Nobody will ever watch them. Don't bother.
My AI. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You fill the AI with all of the jokes that you say.
His famous digital exam, right?
You know that music composers never die. They just decompose.
Oh, that one's not bad. All right, I'll give you a couple points for that one there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sounds like you're onto something. Everybody in the room certainly thought you were. The university certainly thought you did. They found American, what was it, American Healthcare, whatever. There's some big groups.
American College Healthcare Executive.
That was a big deal. The Next Practices Institute here that put this on is a big deal. Everybody thought this was a big deal. And I'll give you one example of somebody that I just know personally that came down to see you, didn't know you from Adam. In fact, someday I'd love to introduce you to him. I did introduce him to Arabian Prince afterwards. I'm up here in the top floor of this Applied Innovation Center. There are tons of people up here trying to develop something, mostly med tech or medicines. And they're all in the wet lab over here experimenting with stuff. They've got some funding and now they're in the next round. They're trying to get 10, 20 million more to take something to a next level. And most of these companies, these aren't just dreamers. They're significantly along in the process of whatever they're developing. And there's a company up here that I talk to all the time here. I see him in the lobby or in the kitchen or whatever. And I never really quite understood what he did until he showed up and I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I thought I'd come down and take a look at this." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, do you know what we do?" I said, "Not really." He said, "We do remote wound care. So somehow they build sensors into bandages. So the bandage is remotely linked to the internet through Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, I guess, and communicates data back to how that wound is coming along. So before you rip it open and see how it's doing the bandage, it's monitoring things. And he said, I'm just curious. He said, I'd like to hear, because that's kind of where we're going. Are they going to is there space in the medical metaverse for that kind of technology, data collection, communication? I said, I think so. Let me introduce, and I left him with Arabian Prince, who I'm sure gave him a earful here, but one of your CEO and one of your investor founders here. But I just think there are connections to be made once you create the space. Is it like Field of Dreams? You build it and people will come? I think there's a connected world waiting. The guy that was doing regenerative health using light lasers and stuff here. Otherwise, they're all doing it on their own.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly. How do you aggregate that into one platform?
Right.
We are the platform.
You are the platform. Well, I hope that OC Talk Radio has a little voice in there someday. I hope a little radio station.
Yes.
By the way, I have an announcement, by the way.
You do? Okay.
Yes. Reader's Digest selected the membership of MDDAO as their top 10 holiday gift.
What?
Yes.
What? Old conservative Reader's Digest is saying give a membership in MDDAO?
Yes. Top 10.
That's amazing.
For adults.
That is amazing. How do they do it if somebody wanted to do that? Where would they go? How would they?
On the website, and there's like a big gift card. Click gift card, buy. And
buy a membership for somebody else.
Buy a membership for somebody else.
So give us the website.
MDDAO.com. MDDAO.com. MD.
And people can, and what's it cost? Is it expensive at this early stage?
$5 for a consumer membership. So yeah, no.
And that's monthly, yearly, lifetime?
No, for lifetime.
Wow. Imagine if you could have bought a lifetime membership in Facebook a million years ago, or I don't know.
I know, right?
Yeah, or something.
$5, you become a member of a...
Or Netflix, let's say. There's, I guess Facebook's free,
but... co-op or membership club. It's like a club membership, kind of. MDDAO, where you're going to be able to voice and influence what the new healthcare services should be in the medical metaverse.
Love it. Well, love to hear more. Love talking about it. Love seeing a crowd of people who were obviously very sophisticated, taking a real deep dive interest into this world that you've created. Certainly an affirmation, certainly a confirmation that you're on the right path. And at least among the thought leaders here in the medical universe that surrounds this university, a lot of buzz about what you were doing, a lot of interest.
Well,
we're just getting started, guys. We're only getting started.
All right, take us out, Dr. Trinh.
Dr. Trinh, have you noticed what I'm wearing?
I like it. Yes.
That's my MDDAO top. I have an MDDAO sweat top.
Oh, is that what? I can't quite tell here. All right.
You can find it on our shop at mddao.com. And
amen. There you go.
There's a store. You can buy T-shirts. You can buy all kinds of things.
Yeah,
for Christmas.
I hadn't thought about that. We got to get T-shirts and everything else here.
T-shirts, hats, and of course, the membership of MDDAO, which was top 10 of Reader's Digest.
Well, who are we to quibble with Reader's Digest? They know. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for letting us be part of this conversation. We'll see you next time on Health Talks with Dr. Trinh. Well, there you have it. Another great reason you got to tune in each and every time to Health Talks with Dr. Trinh. The one show, I think the only show, that talks about the future of health today and tomorrow. Right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio.net. Streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beall Applied Innovation Center.